Breaking news just coming in Bengaluru. Idgah Maidan row. Hearing has begun in the Supreme Court. Kapil Sibal arguing for the Waqf board. Sibal says it's already being used as a playground for kids, but for religious functions, what will it do? Your lordships know. This order should not create problems there. Kapil Sibal for Idgah management says ownership of land clarified in 1964 by the Supreme Court of India. Elections are next year and suddenly this happens. Anisha Mathur is now joining us for the latest on this. Anisha, very clearly Kapil Sibal is bringing forth the political element of this entire story about how the elections are next year and suddenly this is happening, and that's the kind of argument put forth by Kapil Sibal. What's going on right now as the hearing is underway? Anisha will be joining us in moments from now to get you more details. But Kapil Sibal currently, as we speak, is arguing for the Waqf board. That's the breaking news coming in. Sudden row as elections are next year, says Sibal. It is the Idgah Maidan row. The hearing has begun in the Supreme Court. So the apex court is hearing this particular case. Sibal says it is already, that is the Idgah Maidan, being used as a playground for kids, but for religious functions, what will it do? Your lordships know. This order should not create problems there. Anisha joins us for the very latest. Anisha, I believe the hearing is currently underway as we speak. We've brought our viewers up to speed with the arguments put forth by Kapil Sibal. What's going on right there in court?
Well, Chaiti, at the moment as we speak, Senior Advocate Dushyant Dave has started arguing on behalf of the Idgah management, that is the Karnataka Muslim Association. Now remember, there are two petitions before the apex court, one by the Karnataka Board of Waqfs, the second one by the Muslim Association, which is the management committee of the Idgah as well. Both petitions have raised similar concerns, saying that this ground that is under dispute now has been a Waqf property and has been recognized as a Waqf property since the 1800s. They're also saying that in 1964 there was a case relating to construction of road through that area, and the Idgah committee had won that case even up till the Supreme Court, where it had noted that this is the Idgah area. There is a graveyard here which has been in use, and just because there is a path going through which people used to cross over from one side to the other, and just because children have been using this open ground as a playground, does not mean that this is a public space. And that is a judgment that Senior Advocate Kapil Sibal has been citing to show that this is not a area which can be used as a public ground by the state. What he's also arguing is that till now this issue had never come up, but now with the elections coming up next year, and this is an argument raised by Kapil Sibal, that with the elections coming up next year, suddenly this issue has come up, and this is a question of religious tensions being created in the state. He's also said that the municipality, the Bangalore municipality, had no right to suddenly raise this concern. Now Dushyant Dave, who is appearing for the Idgah committee, is currently arguing. My colleague Srishti is inside and sending us minute by minute updates of the hearing itself. She's saying that Mr. Dave is arguing that the High Court order is incorrect, that the High Court should not have taken this kind of an approach. For 200 years this land has been in the possession of the Idgah, of the Masjid committee, and now this issue cannot be raised, because even under the limitation issue, if anybody had a problem with this land being notified as a Waqf land, they should have raised the issue within 1 year of that notification, and that notification is from the 1960s, and since then no objection had been filed. So why is it that suddenly this issue is coming up? Remember, the Ganesh Chaturthi is tomorrow. The application that was filed, the demand that is being raised by right-wing groups in Bangalore is to hold Ganesh Chaturthi Puja and the celebrations for the next 4 days in that Idgah ground, and that is why this matter is being heard on an urgent basis before the Supreme Court on whether the Karnataka High Court could have passed an order allowing the state government to take a call on allowing religious ceremonies in that ground or not.
And since we're discussing this, and the matter clearly is being heard in the Supreme Court on an urgent basis right now, if you could just give a little bit of a background in terms of the Karnataka High Court and the order passed by the High Court there.
Well, yes, Chaiti, that is what I was coming to. The Karnataka High Court, remember, last week on Friday itself, had passed an order saying that it is for the Karnataka government to take a call on whether this land can be allowed, whether religious and cultural ceremonies can be allowed for a short period of time on this land. The single bench of the Karnataka High Court, remember earlier last week, had denied that request to hold the Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations, but the division bench, the two-judge bench, on the very next day reversed that order and said that no, this is since the ownership of land is under dispute, it is for the state government to take a call, because India, and this is a quote from the High Court order, that India is a multicultural, multi-religious society, and therefore it is for the state to decide whether to allow this kind of function or not. Now, Mr. Sibal, in his arguments on behalf of the Karnataka Waqf Board in the Supreme Court, is saying that this is an unnecessary dispute that is being created, that the ownership of this land is not in fact under dispute, and it is only because elections are coming up that this issue has been raised. Mr. Sibal is also has also raised this argument that and Mr. Dave has also raised this argument that the Karnataka government or the Karnataka High Court could not have passed any such orders. In fact, an interesting argument raised by Kapil Sibal was also that if you allow the religious and cultural ceremonies of other religions on that land, then, and this is a direct quote, then we all know what can happen. So he's very indirectly or directly arguing that there could be rise in communal tension. One more update we are getting from inside the courtroom is that Dushyant Dave, who's currently arguing on behalf of the Idgah committee, is also raised this argument that would a Muslim community be permitted to hold their religious functions if the ground was owned by a Hindu trust. This is a very clear religious argument that is being raised now, and the Supreme Court bench of Justices Hemant, Gupta and Sudhanshu Dhulia has said that this kind of an argument should not be raised. The bench has said do not refer to anything that is not born out of this current dispute. So a very political and religious argument being made before the Supreme Court that this land belongs to the Idgah, belongs to the masjid. So why is it that there is a sudden demand to hold the religious and cultural festivals of other religions on this land itself? The argument that's being made is that just because it is an open ground, just because there is no wall surrounding this ground and children are allowed to play in it, does not make it a public park or a public space.
Very interestingly, you also mentioned the arguments put forth by Dushyant Dave too. If you could expand a little further on those arguments as well.
Well, yes, Chaiti, as I said, the arguments that are currently going on, even as we speak, Mr. Dushyant Dave is putting forward his arguments, and we are getting updates from the court where my colleague Srishti is inside the courtroom. Dushyant Dave has raised a two-pronged argument so far. He's still arguing as we speak, but so far he's raised two prongs of the argument. One, that the High Court of Karnataka should not have passed this kind of an order. For 200 years, this land has been in the possession of the Idgah committee. It has been used since there are records dating back to 1870s when this area was used as a graveyard and then as the Idgah grounds.